It's a great tattoo. It's a
Yeah.
great tattoo. But it's just like, like poorly done, good memories.
Yeah.
That's like the vibe of the. It's like
That's too good.
it's like the story of my life.
That's too good.
Everything is poorly done,
Yeah.
but at least at least the
Are we
memories
starting,
are good.
by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Do you need to like pee?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Do you want a snack?
No. Yeah. I
That
can
was
wait.
so unconfident.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm gonna wait. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, shit. We don't even have to say hello. I think we already got the first 30 seconds of it. But yeah, so Reo,
Yep.
my boy, Reo Cragun. First guest on the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Why don't we start off? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Who are you? What do you do?
Yep. Yeah, my name is Craig. Craigery.
I thought Craig was the alter ego.
Yeah, for sure. No, my name is Reo Cragun. I'm from a town called Vancouver, Washington, not to be confused with Canada. Yeah, man, grew up out there. Was pretty good at school, so that's where a lot of my focus was at. Before I was like 19, and I got like a full ride scholarship to go to any school in Washington, and I wanted to go to Washington State because that's where all the fun kids were at. And yeah, I went to Washington State University for like a year and a half, and I ended up dropping out because I had this crazy idea, horrible idea. I was like, let's go become a musician, man. And then I struggled for a very long time. But no, yeah, that was like a big life-defining moment for me. My grandma ended up passing when I was in college, and she was one of my best friends, and it was like, had like a existential crisis, and was like, actually, what is the meaning of life? And it was like, this opportunity that we have here on earth is really short-lived, so I don't want to be in school for the next like 3.5 years. I want to go to Los Angeles and go chase something I've been dreaming about for a while. It was funny too because back then I probably had made like 5 songs in my entire life.
No way. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was gonna ask. Like, were you already doing music before that, or like was it like obviously my grandpa died when I was in college.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like I was very close with him.
Yep.
But I didn't know like what the thing was like per se.
Yeah.
Like did you like? I had like an interest in music, but I wasn't like
Yeah.
to the point where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna drop everything and do it.
Yeah.
Were you doing it beforehand?
Dude, during that, so no, I wasn't really. So I loved creating things. The music just happened to be one of the things. Like back then around that time, like I'd started like a microgreens kind of just like farm in my backyard. And built that from the ground up. And at the same time I was doing music and writing songs for the first time.
Do you remember what those first songs were like about? Like, what were you like? What was it like?
Straight bars, bro.
Straight up, just
Straight
rap?
bars, man. I thought I was about to be like the craziest rapper on earth, and yeah. Listening back to some of those songs, mid.
Where were we getting the beat? Were they YouTube beats?
Yeah, hell yeah, they were YouTube beats. Man, I was like trying to learn how to produce during this time as well. The beats sucked. Yeah, so I was definitely not amazing. Definitely considered myself pretty poor at making music.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get better. Like that's the thing too. Like that's kind of who I am. It's like if I'm not very good at something that I enjoy doing, like I'm gonna spend a whole bunch of time and effort to get to where I want to be.
So what happened after that? You had 5 songs in your like hard drive. Like
Yep.
I was gonna say like catalog, but it's more just
Yep.
like sitting on your desktop.
Yeah.
You had these 5 things. You had kind of fucked around making music.
Yep.
This like thing happened that was a catalyst in your life. How do you kind of just go from point A of like, this is like a little thing that I like doing. Like
Yep.
I have this life realization to being like, fuck it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop everything in my life, go to LA. Like, was it like a confidence thing? Like what made that happen for you?
No, it was actually the complete opposite. I was like brutally scared.
Yeah.
But I was sitting around and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, who do I know who's seen any type of success off of music? And it was absolutely zero people.
Yeah.
Like during that time, there was, a few local artists who were, playing live shows and getting booked for that stuff. And I was like, okay, but it's interesting because, it's only in this pocket. They're not elsewhere. Around the United States, and I figured I have to leave because there was no one that I could go to for guidance, and there was no one that had done the things that I wanted to do that were in my like surrounding area. So I'm like I could just like soak up game and just like try and grind that way. So I knew that I had to go to Atlanta, New York, or Los Angeles and just kind of start working with people and just get better. And yeah, so
Did you have any friends when you moved out, or was it just so solo? Like, how did you? Because I feel like a lot of people have the story of like drop everything. Mine is similar. I made 250 peanut butter sandwiches, pulled up here in the Honda Accord, did a lot of the same shit. But
Yep.
like for me, before I had moved here, I went to school. I finished school barely
Yep.
by the skin of my teeth, but like very much was like in the summers was crashing on friends' couches, like doing the whole thing. Like really the story that is not that unique in the sense of like if you're here, you're immediately going to meet 100 people that have like at least
Right.
that foundation to it. But like I think where it starts to vary is when it is very solo dolo. Like who was like your first friend in music? Who was your first mentor? How did you get to like that point? You know?
Yeah, so I had met my old manager, Dion, and he was dating a girl in Portland. She's from Los Angeles. His dad was in the music business for many years. And I ended up linking with him and, started making more music. And then he was like, you got to come to Los Angeles.
So you linked up with him when you were in Vancouver still.
Yep.
Word.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how stuff like that actually works because I was already planning on going. Just like sometimes, people get attracted together when
Yeah.
like you're on similar missions and you have similar ideas, I guess.
Right.
And yeah, that was just kind of one of those things. And so I ended up sleeping on their couch for quite a few months.
Was that in LA?
It was in Riverside. So we would
Wow.
drive from Riverside to Los Angeles and try to go to any studio that we could. And shout out to 1500 or Nothing too, because that was like one of the first people who I worked with when I got out here. Their talent level extremely exceeded mine. So
Right.
I thought it was just like the coolest thing to, be creating with people who, have done music for a living for a very long time.
I think it's interesting like having I think it's interesting to always kind of be in that place of like this is something that me and you have I think both been doing for quite a bit of time now, you a little bit longer than me, but I feel like the more we get into it, I'm always actually trying to feel like that way. Like I'm trying to feel like I'm always with people around me who are better than me at like everything that I do. Like obviously like
Yeah.
there's like this like it's like the rule of thirds or something like that where like you have 1/3 of the people that you hang around with, that you work with, that you collaborate with, that are just kind of like in your friend group
Yeah.
should be like better at the shit than you, like at like a certain thing, right? One group should be like the same level as you, and one like third should be you're like slightly further along.
Yeah.
Because like it was the same thing. Like I grew up playing sports, and it was like a very similar kind of mindset when you're like kind of playing with like a bunch of other people. Like
Yeah.
it's very much like that group is like where you're trying to get to. This group kind of keeps you in check, and then the group that you're like a little bit ahead is like what you kind of have to watch your back for in some ways.
You can also teach.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Teaching makes you a lot better
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. I think that it's super important, right? Because it keeps you hungry. Having people in your circle who are, further along, and then also, you know, it's you have opportunities for accelerated growth. There's been so many occasions where, you know, I'm just like sitting in on a session or something, or, you know, back then, and I would pick up so many tricks.
What year
and
was this, by the
tips.
way?
This was 2015.
Word.
Yeah. 2015. Yeah. And so, yeah, I went from pushing carts and running the cash register
Shout out
at
Costco.
Costco. Yeah,
Shout out
for
Costco.
sure.
You already know.
To just like completely, you know, being in the studio every single day. And yeah, man. It was weird because, you know, I got better at songwriting very quickly, I would say. And I think it was just because I was flexing the muscle, you know? And so it was around that time where I met Jeremy Tyler, and we just became, you know, the best of friends.
Give some context to the people that don't know.
Yeah, Jeremy's a professional basketball player, and yeah, we ran into each other in like the most random way. Onassis, one of my brothers, he was in a liquor store. My manager just like started talking with him, and you know, he's like, yeah, I'm an artist, you know, da 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 da. And they're like, oh yeah, cool, we're making music at the crib, you guys should pull up sometime during the week. And yeah, they all became some of the best of my friends.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're like doing this thing. You're basically putting yourself through the like accelerated artist program.
Yeah.
Like that's really what being in LA is, right?
Yeah.
It's like the program of like you can very much, because to me there was a clear distinction of like me being in my dorm room watching YouTube videos,
Yep.
and me being in a room with someone that was a lot better than me, working way faster than me, doing shit like on a level that I like hadn't seen, because YouTube videos are like the edited version
Yeah.
of
Completely.
the creative process or whatever it is. I for one, like I scoured the internet trying to find interviews of all my favorite artists, all my favorite producers, like everyone who did anything cool, but like
Yeah.
it's a very curated thing. Like some of my
Yep.
like like even like documentaries are curated, like as much as there's like real shit in them.
Yeah.
But like there's like the accelerated program is like being here and like actually watching other people do a way better job than you.
Yeah.
So like you're here in 2015, you're doing that for a little bit, you meet Onassis, you meet Jeremy.
Yep.
You're here with 1500, so like you're obviously like in a circle of people that are like kind of motivating you. But when did you have like the first Reo Cragun moment that was like at that time, were you releasing music? Like how did the accelerated program lead to like some sort of like a catalyst for you?
Yeah, so I was releasing music, I would say maybe once a month, once every 2 months ish, and it was going well. I was getting, you know, decent amount of plays.
What year is this?
This is during the same time frame, so 2015, 2016.
So you're fully independent at this point.
Yeah, fully independent. Right. And what ended up happening was, you know, I ended up moving into Jeremy's crib, and, you know, like just writing every single day. I would wake up, get some food in me, and start writing songs. I would try and write like 5 songs a day. And I remember this one day I wrote Inconsiderate, and it was just such like it was I could tell like it was an important moment. The song just felt, you know, it felt like it was there, and I was like, okay, this song has come out like right now. And pretty much what I did was I uploaded it almost instantly, and yeah, it started doing really well. Really well for me at that time was like, you know, 40,000 streams, and I was like, there's something here. We me and my boy Mark, we ended up shooting a video for it, and that original video is no longer on the internet. Thank goodness. I look crazy, guys.
Yeah, send me that though. I mean, I'll ask Mark for it if you don't.
Yeah, I'm sure Mark probably still has it. Yeah, so ended up doing that. It got posted on like Baller Alert and like a few of the other blog sites, and I just started getting calls from like every label. It was wild. And you know, that's That's where I met Dre London, who's like Posty's manager, and yeah, they introduced us to Elliot Grange, who was like starting his label at the time, which is funny. It was like called, I think, Strange at the time, and later ended up turning into 10K. And so, yeah, and then did a deal with Elliot, and we re-released Inconsiderate and a whole bunch of the other songs that I made, and it just like completely everything changed.
Do you think that the experience of so obviously, like, I'm sure where your head might have went when all these things started happening for you, I'm sure it started happening quickly, right? Because all of a sudden you're like kind of, you're doing your thing, you're making 5 songs a day, Inconsiderate happens, you get someone's attention, right?
Yep.
Would you say that you were overwhelmed, underwhelmed, or did that situation kind of meet your expectations of like, okay, wow, like I'm signing to a label, like this big guy music is co-signing me, like did it feel like it met your expectations, underwhelmed, or was it like overwhelming?
It's interesting. This might sound weird, but I was like experiencing like extreme periods of like deja vu during that time. So like it felt like everything was just in place and how things were supposed to be. I was obviously excited, still nervous, because not so long ago I was pushing carts and on a full ride scholarship, and all my friends are quite far away from me. My family is not there, and so I was just on my own completely for the first time in life, and just making things happen. That was like one of the, I always try and get back to that place mentally because, I felt like if I didn't go and get this and didn't go 110%, then nothing was ever going to happen for me. It felt like that was my only option. And, I think that's what allowed me to kind of, grow as an artist.
Like,
and a human too.
Like signing with them?
No, just the putting in that amount of effort every single day. I think it also helped that I was flat out broke, so like I couldn't afford to eat for the most part.
Yeah.
I think just that desire to grow as an artist and as a person. It's wild. It's just instinctual.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, after all this happens, were you playing shows like in this period? Like did you how were you throwing your own shows? Like how did that whole thing work?
So not at all really. I was doing like one-off show situations, like trying to play at clubs.
Was your catalog big enough?
No, not at all.
Got it.
Before Inconsiderate came out, I think it was like 4 songs.
Word.
Yeah, because like I had scrubbed the internet of like the original songs that I had, and so we're just slowly releasing over time. But yeah, and then I think we put out like 10-11 songs on the project. It was called Growing Pains, and that was the first time that I really had like a decent amount of songs out.
Yeah, but you were doing shows though, like you were doing like one-offs.
Yeah, one-offs. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it wasn't until after Growing Pains came out when I really started doing festival runs and touring with other artists and things of that nature. So it was building blocks. It was like, first let me actually learn how to write like a decent song,
right.
And then it was like then learn how to put together a solid body of work. And I was learning all this real time. It's not like anyone was extremely assisting with this stuff. Like it was all, I executive produced it along with like Onassis and Apollo. So it was like the 3 of us putting together like this body of work for the first time, pretty much.
Bro, I feel like figuring it out on the fly is just like, it's like, I don't think that we would both be doing what we're doing had we not understood that's how you
Yeah.
learn like 99% of things.
It is, man. Yeah, it is. And it's funny too because like, you know, I think a lot of people, even me, you know, like during this time it was like, okay, I have to, you know, have this person, I have to have this person, this person, this person in place before anything can happen. And it's just so not true, you know, like you have to go through the motions and you have to fail miserably a whole bunch of times and then it happens. Whatever that is for you. But yeah, I think that was like some of the most valuable lessons that I learned during that time was, you know, it's not really failure. It's just learning experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find like the balance like in between, cuz you know like I'm at a point in my career where touring is just something that I'm starting. Like I'm playing my first festival next month. Like this is new. This is all new shit to me. Like how did you find the balance of working on music and touring? Because some people like, I mean, bro, Steve,
there's no balance.
What do you mean? Like it's like all just like touring?
It's like such play it by ear. You know, like a lot of people, it's hard to ride on the road because, you know, you're loading in, you're flying in, you're in the green room, you're waiting for sound check, you have to go take a shower at the hotel, you have to go back to the green room, you got about an hour and a half before the show, you're thinking about, damn, I better put on a good show. You know, it's like, I mean, the show's over, you go back to the hotel room, you got to catch a flight or else hop on the bus. And it's like, you know, there's so many like incremental things that you have to do. And it's just very mechanical that it's like hard to, you know, just like instantly snap your fingers and then you're back in creative zone. So yeah, I don't know. I did try and write as much as I could on the road. There's only like a few songs that have ever come out though that I think have been good enough. Yeah, because it's hard to get into that element.
Do you enjoy touring?
No. I enjoy seeing everyone. And I enjoy performing. I think it's very mentally like straining and physically straining too. To just be I think it's a lot easier. Okay, so I will say this. I enjoy like bus routes a lot better than plane routes.
I feel like I would be the same fucking way. You know how I am on flights, bro.
Yeah, because at least you get decompression time, and like I can write a song on a bus. You know, like it's when you have a lot of off days though. I think that's very, you know, that's a good touring scenario. It's you don't make a lot of money when you have a lot of off days because, you know, you're in hotels. If you have a big team, then you're just burning cash. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that, you know, a lot of people don't realize. Like tour routing is pretty complex, and can be very expensive. But look, I will say though, it's 100% worth it because even though it's very hard, it is rewarding. Like, you know, being in front of real people who are listening to the music, and, you know, some of your biggest supporters, I think nothing beats that. Yeah, just having like an in-person connection as well. And yeah, I would, you know, I always try and just spend as much time as I can shooting the shit with everyone that I can.
What was your favorite place to travel when you were on the road?
To travel, Asia probably, and Australia. I just really enjoy.
We still need to go to Australia, bro. We need to get that figured out. I'm trying to run it up in Australia, bro. I've never been. How many times have you been?
I love it. I think twice now.
I thought you just said 11.
No. Yeah, no. No, I mean, that's a long flight. It's like 14 hours. But yeah, we should definitely go because I absolutely love Australia.
Where would you want to go? Would you want to? Are you the type of guy where you go somewhere again, you want to go to the same place, or you just want to go somewhere totally new? It's like if you go to a restaurant, are you always gonna order like the same burger?
Well, I mean, there's not many places to go. There's like Melbourne, like Perth, Sydney, Adelaide. Like you can hit New Zealand.
I feel like New Zealand's like boring though.
No, it's really cool. Dude, it's like it's very small. Dude, I had one of the craziest show experiences in New Zealand. Like we were playing a set and I was like playing with Flume, and this guy had climbed on like the metal rack system, and he was like 60 feet in the air.
Hell.
He's just like headbanging to the song. And I was like, damn, that is that's hazardous.
Bro, my brain, you know how I think, bro. My brain would go straight to liability mode. My brain is like, how expensive is the worst case scenario here? Like, candidly. Like to me, that's like most people go in the red when they tour because it's how you build out good experiences. Like
Yeah.
a good show is expensive as fuck.
Yeah, if you have high production costs.
Yeah.
I think there's like, so it depends on the type of set. If it's like an artist set or like a DJ set. DJ set, man,
Lower overhead.
I'm very envious. Yeah, it's like very low overhead. And then plus like that's something that I do want to do. I think that's probably going to be one of the next phases of my artist career is I want to do DJ sets. And like it's one of the reasons also that it's really hard to tour is if you're playing shows back to back to back and you got like, let's say, 30 dates. I'm singing like every single day and like screaming. I have like a lot of like, yelling in like some of my songs too. So it's like, geez, I'm like exhausted and like my voice is strained, you know what I mean? And so it's like, then you get into your head like, okay, cool. Am I even going to put on a good show? Because, I'm out here sipping throat coat tea and, trying not to talk because my voice is gone. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's like that. Yeah, you have different types of thoughts and thought process on the road as well, which is, yeah. But
I really trust my computer, bro.
yeah.
This shit is doing great. It locked up. I was like, oh no.
Oh, no way.
No, we're good. We're golden.
Let's
That
go.
shit is going strong. I've just never seen it lock up like that. This is definitely like, normally I'm recording like a verse. I've never recorded like this long of a take of anything. So, but yeah, bro, touring as a DJ, like I don't have nearly as much experience as you do, but that's like to me, bro, if I'm doing 3 shows
Yeah.
in a night, like that's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm just a guy with a USB. I plug in.
Yeah.
I have thousands of fucking songs on it. Like,
Yeah.
if I want to play a Daniel Allen set, cool. I have playlists for that. If I want to play like a rap set, cool. But I feel like that's like being a DJ is a very broad term.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways it's changed over the years because 30 years ago, being a DJ was strictly being a curator.
Right.
And I feel like you, in a lot of ways, are a curator.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's what you're working on with loners, whether it's your taste in music.
Yeah.
You're like always. A lot of times you're putting me onto new shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like to think that I have a pretty good sense of like what's going on musically, but a lot of times you kind of prove me wrong. You know? And it's like it's really interesting because like 30 years ago that was being a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, like people are coming up Miami, like whatever. Like Danny Days is doing shit. A-Track is doing shit. Like
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, producers, which the definition of that has changed so much over time. Like producers used to be just people that made people comfortable in a room and like maybe just the instrumentalist in a room or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That became a thing of like these electronic acts, like kind of if you really want to take it early, like probably started with like the Daft Punks of the world, right? The aughts happen, Martin Garrix and Chainsmokers and all those guys like started doing stuff. And then all of a sudden these guys were like, we need a way to play our music out. And so DJing became synonymous in a lot of ways with the people who like make the electronic songs and needed a way to like put them out, like to just like, what does a live show for this look like? Because they can't just go up on their laptop and press play. Like it has to be a little bit more curated than that. But then like Kenny Beats this year at Coachella, Kenny Beats, like he releases shit under Kenny Beats, but his whole thing is like bro runs like a business. Like he runs like a
Yeah.
brand like empire, and he played an open format set at Coachella.
Oh,
Like
sick.
I don't know if you said, yeah, did you catch any
Nah.
of his set? It was like
Yeah, I didn't.
totally open format, like probably play like 100 songs in the hour. Like literally was just going from like
Wow.
just popular shit. You know what I mean? Like he played my boy, the JID song.
Oh,
You
let's
know?
go.
But that's what I'm saying is he was very like I feel like in some ways that's going to come back, which is exciting for people who, I mean, you fortunately produce a lot of your own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which made like us working together really easy because you spoke the language and you had all the, like, you had so many fucking ideas for it too.
Yeah.
But generally, like, it puts a lot less pressure on Reo Cragun DJing Reo Cragun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I feel like if you were to play a set, how much of it, like, if you were to start DJing,
Yeah.
right? Which, by the way, I have CDJs, so like, come use them whenever. But like,
let's go.
if you were to play a Reo Cragun DJ set, like,
Yeah.
how much of that is, what's your balance? Like off cuff.
It depends on the setting.
Wow, you're gonna be such a good DJ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for
Textbook
sure.
answer.
Yeah, I mean it does, right? It depends on, what I'm there to do. If it's an actual Rio show, probably more of my stuff. And if I'm there to, turn shit up, have a party, yeah, just sprinkle it in there. Yeah, but I don't know, man. I really think that it's situational.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll steal some coffee.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I think I don't know. I'm excited. I feel, I ended up moving to the desert because I was trying to rediscover myself during the pandemic, and now I'm back out here in Los Angeles. But yeah, I feel like the world is my canvas again, and I haven't felt like that way in a long time. And so yeah, I'm just trying to get extremely creative with things. And I'm making new types of music. I want to evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take it back for a second. Like, I think you'd be a great DJ because you're a great curator, but obviously there are a lot of things that you're working on the curation front. Obviously, Loners being one of them. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is, like what that means to you, and like just kind of how that whole thing came about?
Yeah, 100%.
Because in there probably somewhere is how we met too.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, so I went. So during the pandemic, I went just extremely aggressive in Web3, and so I saw what was happening on the internet during this time, and I just thought that it was so cool. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, like I'm long-term holding crypto, but now like there's this very extremely social aspect, this social layer that's happening, and there was a lot of things happening with digital art and PFPs, but not a lot happening on the music forefront. And I went down the rabbit hole and was got heavily involved and continued to be heavily involved, and now it's like consumed my life, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, and so we helped kind of like this space develop into what it is today, and yeah, just a whole bunch of experimentation happened during this time, and when there was about like 200 artists probably releasing in Web3 probably like a year and a half ago, now there's thousands.
Yeah.
And the idea was just like, okay, cool, I'm releasing music on chain and I'm like having a blast. I'm meeting so many new people who love music and are here for like the future endeavors of the industry. The thought process was like, how can I actually be more hands-on and involved other than just on the artist aspect? And yeah, I just realized curation was going to be extremely important, especially like the main way that people are getting put on to new music in Web3 is like through Twitter or through, Sound XYZ's homepage, a couple blogs, a couple newsletters. And I really think that all of that is amazing, but I just questioned if it was going to be scalable or not. So, yeah, we started doing curation in just like a whole different format. We started releasing a song a week through Loners, which is a creative like incubator and collective that we just had an idea that it needed to exist. And then, that's something that's super important too. Something that I've really learned this year is if you have an idea and you think it's good, go and execute on it. A lot of people have amazing ideas, especially in Web3, but nothing's really acted on. When we acted on this, it started growing. It was like, holy shit. Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, the idea behind Loners is that it's almost like the next evolution behind playlisting, something similar to like New Music Friday or Pollen.
Shout out Pollen.
Yeah, for sure. And, those are curation tools. And a lot of people, that's part of their weekly routine is they go straight to the playlists, right? But the playlist is like not really a brand, which is interesting to me. And that's always kind of just like, I've been fascinated with that, right? It's like, imagine if there was like a physical location for like Pollen HQ. If Pollen did, a magazine, if they threw, big live sets. I feel like that's kind of like the phase that we're trying to take Loners, take curation to the next level, and really champion artists, because I think that good music needs to be heard, and so that's what our mission is.
I think that's why you're so fit to be doing it, because you'll never say this because your ass is way too humble about this shit, but you are like the best at being a champion of other artists.
Yeah.
Like when me and you met,
Yeah.
I was so not fucking confident in my music. Like you, I mean, I'm sure you could vouch. I was probably a different person.
Yeah,
like,
you were
candidly,
a different person.
when we
Yeah,
met,
for
which
sure.
like I'm curious to hear your perspective on, like in some ways.
Yeah.
But I think that before we get into that, like you're someone that really doesn't. You have all these accolades that you never talk about. You have all these things that like you're, I'm sure, very proud of, kind of in private.
Yeah.
But like, I think that it's really interesting because you moved to in Los Angeles in general, really, or in the music industry, a lot of it is up to perception. Like it's up to like, how many followers does this person have? How much are they popping? How much? And that's really the only metric a lot of the times that people, it's like it's the headline metric. Like it's the one that like people can look at really quickly and be like, oh, like this person has 100 million streams on a song, therefore they are amazing at music. And that's kind of like a one-to-one relationship because it's just the quickest, candidly, most lazy way to like come across information.
Yeah.
I think that the thing about you that you've definitely taught me, and like just not in working together, but just in being friends in general, is just like actually listen. Like actually like give a listen. And like I feel like maybe when you came across my music, because I had been familiar with yours for quite a bit, but like when you came across mine, but just across like I'm assuming most people that you have on Loners in general, it's very much just like I guarantee you did not know how many monthly listeners I had, or maybe it wasn't at all the first thing that you looked at. Like you use your ears a lot more than you use like the headline,
the vanity metrics.
Yeah.
No, 100%. It's only about the music for me. Like bottom line. Yeah, for sure.
Which also is a gift and a curse.
Yeah. It can be, like I think, look, my goal isn't to, make as much money as I can, get the most amount of followers, have an insane amount of monthly listeners. I want to put out the best shit that I possibly can.
Yeah.
And yeah, work with people that, I want to work with and make cool shit. I think that's the most important. And yeah, I mean, look, I say this all the time and it relates to more than just the music. Like, I don't take myself too seriously because I'm grinding and I'm working. My goal is to outwork, most of my peers and whoever, is working hard. That I know in the back of my head, there's some kid, in his mom's basement, probably like grinding shit out too, and I'm competing with that.
I mean, bro, that's how I feel about like
Yeah.
music. Like I think like, bro, when we met Bloody White, like
Yeah.
like when I discovered Bloody, he was like fucking 18, bro, or 19.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this dude is like sitting in his mom's house in Lompoc,
Yeah.
making like the craziest shit you've ever heard in your life. Like
Yeah.
literally just like most intricate, crazy production, crazy songwriting.
Yeah.
Like sounds like bro has been producing for 20 years and he's only fucking 20 years old. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
Like,
he's so talented.
and so it's just like, I feel like when you're younger, and when
Yeah.
you're working, whatever, like it doesn't have to be music, like anything that you work on. When you're younger, there's like an inherent, there's an inherent like need, not to everyone, but I think to people that have done like creative things in their life, that have done like things that are very out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
There's kind of this inherent need, whether it's to prove yourself to other people, to prove yourself to you.
Yep.
To kind of that you can actually like do something like meaningful. Like I know that was the case with me growing up. Was very much like my parents were immigrants. It was very like, I don't want to make it seem like I grew up in a household that didn't have a lot, but I always felt like I had like a lot to prove. Like it was very much like my parents dropped everything they were doing. They moved to a brand new place, like didn't know any fucking English. My dad was, I don't want to get this wrong. If my dad watches this, I feel bad, but I think he was like 40 and my mom might have been like 37 or something when they moved. It's like they had a life over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come over here. They come with my older brother Max.
Yeah.
And it was very much like the whole reasoning is because in the former Soviet Union, it's like it's communist. So it's like very like, unless you are someone of like very, very high stature,
Yeah.
like it's the same for like life is the same for everyone. You can work way harder than your next door neighbor, but it really doesn't matter. Like because like you all at the end of the day like will get the same thing. US was kind of promised this thing to them, which was like pull up, work harder than everyone else, and you can actually have like a good life.
Yep.
Like you could actually have you could buy a house.
Yeah.
You could own property. Like you could do all of these things that just like really didn't exist in any other place. So very much like for me, I felt this pressure as a kid that was like, I need to not let their like move here kind of like be in vain. Like I know it's like a crazy way of saying it, but it was very much like damn, they like actually dropped their entire life to like give this better life to like me and my brother. Like I need to like find a way to like prove to them, like because my dad was like, he had a PhD back in the Soviet Union, comes over here as a janitor. Like it's like he really like gave it all up in a lot of ways,
Yeah, clean slate.
Yeah, and so like for me as a kid, it was like doctor, lawyer, engineer. Those are kind of like the acceptable like options because it's like those are the ones that if you work really hard, you'll make the most money. Like it's like a very like linear thing. Not to say that it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it is linear. Like it is. If you want to be like a doctor, you get really good grades from a young age. You get into the best maybe high school.
Yeah.
You maybe graduate towards the top of your class, get into a good college, be pre-med, work really hard, go to med school, get your residency, maybe do fellowship, and then start working like and get paid really well off the jump, and then have your own practice like that. Like it's a very linear trajectory for most people. But for me, like from a very young age, like I really wanted, not even from that young of an age, like actually, yeah, maybe from a pretty young age. Like I like always felt like I had something to prove. So from in my situation, like it started with me like wanting to prove it to my parents.
Yep.
But then very quickly, I was like, wow, like I had this conflicting thought, which is like, I love this music shit, but it doesn't fall in the category of
of like the things that are acceptable.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing, man. It's like that's the truth. I think, what people don't probably understand, music specifically, is an insanely lonely road.
Yeah. Facts.
Like, if you want an easier life, I would say, work hard and get a, high paying, steady job.
Yeah.
For sure. Because, even when things are going really well in music, you're still on this solo mission. Even if you have a team, that you've been fortunate enough to build up a team, it's still your life and it's your career, and nothing is 100% certain too.
Yeah.
Like sometimes careers are very short lived, Sometimes they last, you know, 2 decades, 3 decades. But yeah, man. But one thing is for certain. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of how do I take things to the next level? And it's different for every single person.
Yeah.
Like there's no damn blueprint. So
Well,
you're out
that's
here
why you just have
lost.
to that's why you just have to execute on your ideas though.
You do.
Is because
Super important.
there's no one else that can do it in the way that you can, and you're gonna figure that out in real time. I think
Yeah.
the reason for me.
Oh,
Go ahead.
also too, I think that's synonymous with just being an entrepreneur in general as well. Like, it's very, yeah. It's
I mean,
very
every
similar.
artist is an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
To me, like, the reason that I got attracted to the whole Web3 music space in March of 21
Yeah.
was that I felt like I was trying to find the linear trajectory in music.
Right.
Like, I felt that for, I moved here January of 2020, year and a half, did the whole thing, was
Yep.
doing like 3 sessions a day, living with Russian fugitives downstairs, doing the whole thing,
Yeah.
like just candidly, like trying to figure it the fuck out. Like,
yeah.
how do I have no money. My
Uh-huh.
rent was $600 a month. My homie Eldar slept in the room with me. Like,
Yep.
I'm eating fucking 1,400 calories a day, rationing everything out because I have $100 a week to live off my shit.
Yep.
Like, nothing. Like, I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm mixing and mastering for other people for like $50, trying to turn it around within an hour to prove that I'm like hungry and capable and like doing all these things. But I just felt like I was in the former Soviet Union. Like, it just felt like everything else is like, if you don't know the biggest people, like if you're, then you really are in a lottery system. Like it is like where my head was at. And whether that's in TikTok or however it is. And there's nothing against those things because I think that they are really powerful discovery tools.
Yeah.
But for me, like after a year and a half of kind of being in that rat race, I was very much like, look, it's unquestionable to me that I love doing music and I want to like figure this the fuck out. Like I want to figure out like a way to build a career. But up until that point, I had been like using other people's trajectories as comparison. Like it was like I've met, or I maybe haven't met, but have seen 10 people on the internet, like via like blogs or mutual friends or whatever. Like they came to LA. They decided if they wanted to be an artist or like a producer, like a writer.
Yeah.
If they're a writer, they like sign a publishing deal and they get in rooms.
Yep.
If they're an artist, they sign a record deal, try to get a big record, start touring. Like to me, like that was it. Those are like the two worlds that had existed. And after like a year and a half, I was just like, look, I work really hard. Like I really want to find a way that can actually reward like that fact.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like, look, I'm entrepreneurial. I want to find a world that is an alternative.
Yeah.
And I think that you and I had that in common, even though it was a very different context. Like you had tasted a lot of the music industry. Yeah. You had tasted viral success in a lot of ways. You had tasted touring. I was on the other side where I wanted to. Like I really wanted those things, but to me it's like I feel like one day I'll get a Grammy. Like I feel confident in that. Yep. But I think that my way of doing it is not going to be like via having some super smash like 10 billion stream record. Like maybe my way of doing it is via, I don't know, like have like or like a platinum record, right? Like if music NFT sales like starts to count towards like or RIAA certification, like maybe that's a world where something like that happens. But what I'm getting at is like, you really have no idea how it's going to happen. Yeah, like that's true. Like when it happens, you look back and be like that. You look at the road and it's just like this, like it's like a fucking corkscrew. Like it's not. And so,
yeah, every single thing that I thought was going to be, the liftoff trajectory or whatever, like it never ended up panning out. It was always just some random happenstance. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I think that's part of, it's not about, I think, the goals that you break down. I really think that it's about the journey, because all the great stuff happens along the way. And, I mean, you kind of know what it's like. You have a schedule on your calendar, which is like a loose construct of how your days go. but being a musician, man, it's like pretty play it by ear. There's a lot of things that come up,
Yeah.
and you got to pull up just to random stuff. And yeah, man, I think that especially being here where it's like such a creative hub, bro, you know, I might run into fucking biggest artists in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, just, on my coffee lunch or something like that.
What's a coffee lunch?
I'm hungry, so I think I just combined those words. That's too good.
Coffee lunch.
I'm gonna start saying that where it's like, yeah, my lunch is coffee right now. So,
bro, that is a bad place to be. We'll eat after this. We'll eat after.
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So, while I have you here, though, a couple more things I'm just curious about, because like my whole reason for doing this like podcast, because you asked me right before, you're like, oh, like what's the purpose? Like,
yeah,
I feel like I live on my phone a lot, and I know your ass does too.
Yeah,
because
for sure. Yeah,
part of what we do is keeping our ears to the street, and a lot of times I think you do a better job of it than me, because I'm so much in artist mode right now.
Yeah,
and I think, I mean, I'm so jealous of your ability to just turn on the fucking switch. Like, bro, literally, like, this guy, like, hadn't been making music for a little bit because he was so hunched down on the company and building the infrastructure of the company.
Yeah.
FaceTimes me, shows me 20 fucking songs, like, immediately off the bat. He's like, yeah, man, just kind of, like, made all these yesterday. Like, see, I don't, like, have, like, that kind of a output. Like, I don't know. That shit's crazy to me.
Yeah, so, okay, so I think that's what a classic example of, like, the grass is always greener, right? Because there were so many days, we are building out the company, and I'm, like, so excited, and, I would foolishly think, okay, my day's going to end. So it starts early. So probably like 9 to 10 a.m. To like 8 p.m. Like I'm only working on the business stuff. And it's kind of a long day. And that is if I end at 8. Like oftentimes I just get so consumed and like I'm doing it until 2. And then I wake up and do it all over again. Just because, I mean, like if you love something, it's never work, which is dangerous because, like there is no off switch with me, especially if, like I'm like wrapped in the work. But, there was a lot of times in the last, like, let's call it a month and a half where I really wanted to make music and I would sit down and nothing would happen. And if something did happen, it would just be straight trash. Just like, damn. All right, cool. Back to work. Yeah. And then go back to, working on the company. And, so, I mean, usually when I do create and I sit down and make music, it's just a streak. So, like, I'll be able to just, like, write a whole bunch of songs fairly quickly. But, yeah, I mean, so I will say, it's a blessing and a curse. And then like what happens as well is like my problem is curating my own music, right? Yeah. So like I have a whole bunch of songs that, I'm just like, do I put this out as an EP? Is it an album? And yeah, I mean, so now I have like, probably 7 years worth of music just sitting on a hard drive that is going to take me probably like another 6 months to figure out how to put out properly.
Bro, you are so funny, like, to work with. It's like actually hilarious. Like, you will literally, like, when we were doing Criteria, and I was like, you would record vocals in like 10 minutes. Like, you would actually be done. Like, you would write the whole fucking song. Like, you would be done in 10 minutes. Yeah. And then I'll be like, yo, can you send me the vocals? Like, and you would literally just like, be like, turn your screen around on FaceTime and be like, yeah, I'm sending it right now. Show me the email with like the vocals attached in the email.
Right.
And then I'd wake up the next day, like, be like, have my coffee, like, sit down, start to work. It's not in my inbox. And I'll be like, yo, man, like, I didn't get your email. And then you'll just be like, bro, like, I just forgot to hit send. Like, it's like the craziest shit that, like, it's so funny.
Dude, that only happens with sending, like, music for some reason. I think it's just because it's like such tedious work. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's so
Well,
wild.
it's so funny because you're so like actually timely when someone needs something, you're actually very timely about it.
Yeah.
But the timeliness like counteracts itself with you like forgetting to hit send. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
like you're more timely than 99% of people, actually, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But it's just like when it comes time to hit send, bro, it just like you go on airplane mode. It's
so
crazy.
funny. Yeah,
It's
the artist brain kicks in, man.
bro, it's
like
crazy.
the logic brain turns off, and I'm just like, oh, what's for lunch?
Bro, and 6 hours later.
Yeah, bro. I have like mad, like attention problems. Cause like, I mean, like my phone, right? My phone is just 1,000 notifications, and I'd never go through like them.
How many unread texts do you have? Tell me right now. You check, I'll check. Let me see where I'm at.
I'm embarrassed by this. I'm not gonna lie. 822.
Damn, I'm at 553. What are your emails at?
You don't want to know.
Are you in the above 10,000?
69,000.
Yo, that's all time fucking bad.
69,000. Yeah. Man. Hey, look. I think what happens is like, it's stockpiles, and then I just get high anxiety, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go through this, and then I do, but I only get through like the first like 100.
I also feel like with to-do lists in general, you think more, like me, like I think way more about the quantity of items than the quantity of time it would actually take me to finish a group of items. So like in my mind, if I have 10 items on my to-do list, each of those items might take 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, oh shit, I got 10 things to do. Like fuck, like it's
Yeah.
it's all going to shit. Like I'm like gonna make everyone mad. Like one of the things might be like taking the trash out, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like when it comes to like to-do lists and shit, I'm either like doing everything at once because once I cross one thing off, I'm rolling. Like
wow, that's great.
it's like done. But like for me, it's like I let it like pile up pretty high.
Yeah. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, anxiety is crippling for me. So like what will happen, I don't even get that far along in my thought process. What will happen is I go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and then that's it. And then I do something to get my mind off of that infinite loop of just doom. That's literally what happens to me. For some reason it becomes like a high stress thing, and
I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I need to get that figured out, huh?
No. Don't whatever you're doing right now is working, bro. Whatever you're doing is working.
Yeah,
great.
for sure. But what I will say is like it sucks to live like that when that happens. You know what I mean? Because like most of the time I'm not in that infinite loop. But when it happens, probably once or twice a day, I'm just like sitting there and I'm just like a sack of flesh, just like. Just useless. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I bounce out of it super quick. Thankfully, probably another quality of the ADHD. But yeah, man, it's wild too because I'm not like, I'm pretty calm for the most part.
Yeah, that's who you are.
Yeah,
bro, you hold shit together like nobody else. You're like. If you had some crazy shit happen on your phone and we're like in the middle of something, you'll keep talking to me.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
pretty fucking wild,
yeah,
bro.
for sure.
Or you like come outside, take a call, come back in, and it's just normal. Like,
yeah,
you might have had the craziest call of your life, and you're just like chilling, having breakfast. Like it's wild. I'm bad at that shit, bro. Like if I have some shit that like I like see on my phone, or if I have some shit that like someone calls me, it's like I'm not bad at like moving on from it, like and like not bringing it into conversation, but like I'm bad at like letting it linger,
right,
for, like, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually, so I'm the problem solver in my entire family, right?
Yeah.
So I have to think about things calmly and like logically. So I try not to let the emotion impact like my judgment calls. So yeah, especially even when it comes to like things with like loners as well. I'm like, okay, cool. How do we get from point A to point B? Okay, this and this and this. For some reason, I can do it in those settings.
Well, but again though, like a CEO brain,
Yeah,
and an artist brain are very different.
right.
I feel like
Yeah,
when you're
completely.
in artist mode, you toggle. When
Yeah.
you're in artist mode, you're like the song is out. Let me go into business mode to promote it. Like you can toggle between the two, even on a day to day. Like you might have a session the same day that you have a meeting, and you turn it off and on. I feel like there's a lot of freedom in just being like, I'm in CEO mode for the day. Like I feel like in a lot of ways, and obviously you're super passionate about loners. Like you're super passionate about what you're building, so that helps a fuck ton. But I think that it's also like not having the stress, I would say, to feel like you have to switch into artist mode and let it happen a little bit more loosely and naturally is probably a good thing.
The coolest thing too is loners is, I mean, just in general, like I still have to be extremely creative, like with some of the ideas that we're, seeing through. And yeah, I think that, that's like one of the things that I'm super excited about, man. I always say this. It's like the best song is the one that you haven't written yet. I think that it's the same thing with, even loners, like our best shit is next, and it'll keep becoming that way. I'm like on a growth trajectory is like the goal, right? And so that's just my mindset with everything. And that just goes back to me not taking myself too seriously. Like I don't like to, flex the things that I've done because I have so much more to do. I think that, it's like very small compared to where I'm actually going. And, and I trust myself and I'm confident in myself to get things done and to go create the things that I've, been envisioning for, all these years. And yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah,
man.
It's really interesting because like as you were talking about that, like I kind of basically realized like in real time like why I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think that in a lot of ways, like you're saying like, oh, like I'm confident, like I believe myself. I think that the reason that you got to that point, going out on a limb here, is it limb or whim? How do you say it?
I think it's both, isn't it?
Going out on a limb whim. Like
on a coffee lunch.
Yeah. I feel like it's because you had people in your ear, whether it was in the form of family, which I don't know if it was, whether it was in the form of virtually, whether it was in the form of a mentor that you had early in your career that gave you the confidence to do that. And for me, in a lot of ways, like that was you. Like that was like, you were the guy that was like, I was like, oh, like I love listening to rap shit. I've never had the confidence to do rap shit.
Yeah.
And you're someone that I really looked up to and still look up to musically in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And you're like, you could do it. Like you were just like, I think you could do this shit. Like, I think you can put like your angle on it.
Yep.
And I feel like I have so many friends that inspire the shit out of me. And like, for me, I think the reason that I want to do this is like, I like hope that like a 16-year-old kid out there can like hear the same shit and be like, oh, like I'm not weird. Like I'm not like, or like me being weird is a superpower, or me like doing things in a way that is not traditional. Like I want some kid, because when I was 16, I like came across a random fucking video on the internet.
Yeah.
That was basically like, it was corny as shit, but it was basically along the lines of like, just do what you love doing. Like in the same way as like the tragic moment that happened for you in your life.
Yeah.
Kind of was that wake up call to you. Like in my like honest hopes, like I just hope like one kid can listen to it and be like, yo, like Daniel found like a lane. Yeah. Or like Reo had this part of his story and I have that in my life. So holy shit, maybe this is my time to like do something crazy. Like maybe this is my time to like, I don't know, like I'm not trying to make this the podcast that makes kids drop out of school, but like maybe it's like like maybe it's just that like I feel like there are just so many like kids and people out there that like don't actually realize like how possible it really is if you just believe that it is.
Dude, it's for sure. That is the truth. Everything is attainable and possible if you grind it out and you work your damn ass off, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, that's one of the things where it sounds so simple, and it's like, but and it is easier said than done. But I think, that gets you moving, right? Like, just having the ideas, just, that's a dream, right?
Yeah.
I think in order to live your dreams, you have to fucking crush goals incrementally. So I think the hardest thing, and this is what I actually have been doing, and that has helped me tremendously in the last like 2 years. It is, I have a large goal that is not close in reach, but then I set a whole bunch of check marks in between, which are just the smaller incremental goals. And it's all about building brick by brick, right?
Do you tell anyone your goals?
I don't tell a lot of people,
soul.
right?
I don't tell anyone.
So I tell probably 3 of the people closest to me, who are also, in some shape, way, or form, like mentors or whatever. And I tell certain people who can help me break down as well, into smaller incremental goals. So, that is super important though, because that's where you can take your dream and you can like figure out, some shape, way, or form, like a roadmap, a loose format. And yeah, man. I mean, like, for example, like you say, I want 100,000 followers on TikTok. Okay, that's fucking pretty broad goal. Like, how do you get there, right? Okay, cool. I'm gonna post 2 content pieces a day, every single day for like 90 days. And I'm going to do collaborations with these other creators. I'm going to make this podcast. I'm going to, do a whole bunch of things. I'm going to post it on other platforms and da-da-da-da-da. Or I'm going to funnel people from Twitter to, like, you can break this down and make it attainable. But as long as you have like a loose roadmap format, one day you'll wake up and you'll be like, holy shit, I have arrived, bitch.
Well, look, there are 2 like big like mental barrier breakthroughs that I've had in my life. One was hearing it from someone else, and one was me coming to that conclusion myself.
Yeah.
The first one was Steve Jobs' 04 Stanford speech.
Yep.
When he said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, so you kind of just have to have faith in everything that you do, and one day it'll all connect and make sense.
Yeah.
So like you said, eventually you look back and be like, holy shit, like, I guess that's how that happened.
Yeah.
And then the other was one that I came to myself, like the conclusion I came to myself, which was like, there is a very big distinction between something being easy and something being simple.
Yeah.
It is simple to be a big artist in a lot of ways, but it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And like simple and easy are like a lot of the times used interchangeably, which is like so incorrect to me.
Yeah.
Like simple just means like being a doctor, quote unquote, is simple.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's just it's this very like iterative, like step by step process, and I feel like.
Or the process of getting there can be simple.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think like, and that's not to be insensitive to people whose situations make it like a lot more difficult. I'm saying more like objectively and like broadly, it is like a simple thing to like it is a mathematical equation to like get from A to B.
Right.
And I think that what I want like a 16-year-old listening to this shit right now to be like, okay, look, it might be hard. It might be really hard, but it is simple.
Yeah, it can be simplistic, like the steps to get
there. Like it is. I feel like people look at a dream or a goal or an ambition or something that feels so otherworldly to them. To me, as a 16-year-old running into Lollapalooza, that was like me playing it one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can look at it and be like, wow, there's so many moving parts to this. Like this is so like complicated. This is so like, what a feat, like what a difficult feat. And it is an amazing like accomplishment to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that, like you said, if you make it simple, if you find a way to make it simple,
Right.
you have confidence.
Yeah.
And because everything that you do is building towards that.
Yeah, completely. And it's way more rewarding, right? Because, like, a lot of times you can feel like you're just throwing things at the wall and nothing's sticking. If you have, like, a short goal list and you start completing all of those goals, you feel so good about, like, finishing, like, what you set out to do. And it gives you... it gives you the confidence, right? Like, I think it's very important that you do that, because again, it goes back to, this is a lonely fucking road.
Yeah.
It's a lonely road, man. But hey, it can be rewarding, and I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. I mean, like, you know, I have had a very hard life, I would say. And it wasn't always happy, but man, I think that I learned so much about myself through this process, and I've seen a whole bunch of things and experienced things that I never would have if I had never left, my hometown. And yeah, I don't know, I don't take that for granted, and I think about it often, man. I mean, like, I think, yeah, it's been a journey, man, and I'm excited about, where we're all gonna go from here. You too, man. I'm excited. Like you said earlier, like I watched you from the very beginning. The couple hundred followers on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just start knocking down walls, pretty much. Yeah, you've gone on to do a whole bunch of crazy shit in the last, like, what? It's only been like a year and a half, I think, right? And yeah, it's been really cool. I've got to watch you develop as a human and an artist, and just like seeing that, bruh. I mean, like, you pulled up to the desert in the Honda.
There we go.
Scrapping it out, just like, and it's like, from that moment in time, yeah, it's just, it's really cool. Yeah, I'm proud of you, man. I think it's been one of the craziest things that I've ever got to witness, as like, a third party.
Bro, you're stuck with me, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
You are not a third party, bro. You are
third person or whatever.
You are very invested.
Like, yeah, for sure. But yeah,
man.
I don't know, like, just an outside lens, right? And yeah, especially just like the character development, watching you go on, do speak on panels, like do a whole bunch of podcasts, like things you weren't doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, growing your collector base, for instance, groundbreaking drops, forward-thinking drops. I don't know. I think like things like this, this is no man's land for in some shape, way, or form, right? A lot of the things that we want to exist haven't been created yet, and for people listening too, right? Like, I think it's everyone's responsibility to go build this shit.
Yeah.
And go make it to what we think is fair and just, and like, and also, brings people together, I think is one of the most important things, right? There's a lot of things in the traditional industry that are broken. There's a lot of things that actually work really well. And I think, if we can build something that just makes, things a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that bro's about to die.
I know, right? I'm like, oh.
I think that you need some water? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I need to get some water for next one. I think the most important trait to really put yourself in a position to succeed, maybe I'm not qualified to say this, but as someone who's like started to build something meaningful, I think in the past couple years, really kind of in a lot of ways on my own, And obviously like the loved ones around me that have like supported me. Like, I think that it's really, it all comes down to being able to throw yourself in the deep end and not being scared to be stupid, not being scared to fuck up, you know? Cause this shit, anything that you do, like Web3, Web2, like making music, it doesn't matter. It's all public.
Yep.
So like,
yeah, you're building in public.
Yeah. So every time you like succeed, it's public. But every time you like fail, it's public as fuck too.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of,
sure.
that is like the lure of why not to do something like kind of outside the box, because the worst case scenario is significantly lighter. Like it's not if you're working like a day job, for example, which not saying this in a negative light, but if you're working in a day job, for example, like really the worst case scenario is not, so I don't want to seem insensitive here, but it's like it's not 100 people attacking you personally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's like kind of like this is like the ecosystem that you're living in. It's kind of like you have like a very big distinction between your work life and your personal life.
Right.
And then you're done, and then you go back to your personal life and everything is okay. You know what I mean? Or everything is like at least separate. And I feel like there's this kind of like boundary that really doesn't exist for people who, or it's a lot harder for people who do public shit to have between like not necessarily like their personal life and like their work life, but like it is one and the same. Like when me and you go out like to like shows or some shit. Yeah. Like in a lot of ways we're kind of working. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is
always on. You're always on.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think some people like go to shows to like escape music and like feel music and whatnot, which obviously like is how I got into music and a lot of. But it's very interesting because,
dude, every time I step out of the house, I'm on.
Yeah.
Like, which is wild. Like, that's a wild fucking concept that I never imagined. Right? Like, I was at. Dude, every time that I'm like having lunch with my mom or whatever, I'm like at a restaurant, I'm just like, oh geez, like I hope that, you know, we get this time right now, because like there's been so many instances where like, you know, the dinner or the lunch gets like interrupted which is wild, which, you know, I'm very fortunate for that and it's really cool, but also, and my mom thinks it's so cool, but I'm like, dang, I don't get these moments very often, so yeah, but yeah, always on. Gotta turn it on.
Bro's on right now.
I'm on.
Wow. Well,
dude, and I'm like crying because I got allergies.
Wow. Well, bro, on some real shit. Appreciate you coming by, being the first fucking guest. I love you.
Love you too, man.
Yeah, where before we go, like where can people find you? You know, where can they find loners?
Yes, you can find me at Reo Cragun on every single platform, and at loners LNRZXYZ. Yeah.
Good shit. Episode 1 in the books.
In the books, baby.
Let's fucking go.